Alright, got the motor back, and it's exactly what it is. It's a 400 short block, oil pan. So the guy said it was 40 over. I can't really feel a ridge, so I'm gonna measure the bores once I get it inside and stuff, but it's it doesn't look like it's had any damage to it or anything, so it's a good score. Okay guys, got the motor back, sort of on a stand. Here we are. There's the 988. I'm gonna try and measure the bores, have a look at the crank, make sure the main cap's on, or black or something horrible happened to it, and I'll check it out and see what we find. So here's Holly's Challenger. What year is this thing? A 73?
Yeah.
I never remember. 73. And we're gonna pull the transmission out. The new transmission. Where's the latch? I don't know how to open this thing, dude. It's not Pontiac.
Here you go.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is. You can see it. Maybe you can't see it. Because your giant 440 ate the 727. So we'll see if we can get it out from underneath this thing. I think it's going to have to go up pretty high.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see how it goes. Still looks good, man. Looks really good.
Yeah, I can't wait to get it running and back up.
Alright, what's happening? Not much at all. Pretty slow going at the moment. But did get my radiator and shroud and fans, and gonna try and get all these mocked up and get that mounted onto the stand today. Looking for the cruise. Blow the cobwebs out. I love this car. It's amazing. Okay, I just took the bird out and did a quick run at the hardware store. Got some bolts. Got all these lined up where I want them on the shroud, and gonna punch, use a center punch to mark all these where they're gonna lay them out. Get it all bolted in, and then I can finish making the brackets for this guy. Cool. Cheers. Hey guys, I got a little bit of stuff done. I'm gonna got a couple things to do tonight, so I'm gonna finish up here. But got the bottom sliding mounts on, and just got some gloves sitting on the tabs right now. I'm gonna cut up an old inner tube and old tire tube and line those. It's coming along. I'll get back on it tomorrow and see what we got. Cheers. Hey guys, small little update just for the sake of doing something. I haven't had a chance to do much stuff, but I got the radiator in, some fans and a shroud. Made a couple little brackets, which are adjustable, so it should fit the majority of any radiators. Not in a huge rush to get this thing started, just because I got, it's a case of hurry up and wait. It's on the wiring for the starter and the ignition and everything. Got my relay for my fans mounted, and so far wired. Just trying to figure a couple things out. Just got my distributor. Nice peacocks here, man. I got one of these ready to run deals. I haven't ran one of these before. Usually I've used the ignition box, but supposedly these are pretty good. There's a pretty janky way to set the rev limiter. The reason I got it still because most thing I have the box for is usually for a rev limiter, but these you can set the rev limiter internally in the distributor, but it's a pretty janky way to do it. You ground out this this gray cable at half the RPM of what your limit is. So if you want a 10,000 limit, not that I would, you rev the motor to 5 and then you ground this cable, and then it saves the limiter. That was a bit of a surprise to me, so I thought it was just going to be something where I could just set it like a chip or whatever, but it saves the box and I'm not really going to get anything extra out of it. Not much else happened. I picked up this 400 block I did a video on it, but never bothered uploading it, so I'll just throw it into this one again. It's a 988 costing 74 400, so it's got the thicker mains, so it's a thicker wall casting. It's 40 over on the walls, and doesn't have a ridge, so it could probably get by with a honing, and the crank's 10 under, so I got it for steel. So these are getting hard to find, and it's perfect for wanting to do a stroker or something like that. It's got plenty of meat in it, and you know, compared to all the 557 castings that I see out there, this was a good find, because usually if someone doesn't know what they have, they'll get rid of this at the same price. So it was a good one. So I'll just tear it all down and add it to the pile with my I got that 455, and actually that's a 557 costing 400 late 70s one. So that'll be good for a stock rebuild or anything, but it's nice to have this one anyway if I want to do a decent build. Hey bud, Kish, give me a beer. Go on, give me a beer. Go on, give me a beer. Go on. Go on, bring it. Come on. Bring it, good boy. Oh, good boy, huh? Good boy. Oh, it's gonna be sudsy. Thanks, bud. Cheers. So on that note, shop's a mess. I got stuff on things that aren't supposed to have stuff on them. It's pretty annoying, but things are pretty much done. The other one, I think you saw the bumps works, everything, starter, it's all wired up. I even got this going now, so I've got lights on here, 150% unneeded, but it's cool anyway. So just had a bit of time to burn, so I thought I'd wire it up. Everything else is good. I can't remember if I did a video, just put this little bracket on here to hold the coil and stuff, because obviously none of these wires I know how long anything's got to be until it's actually in the car. So I want to preserve everything and then actually wire it properly once it's in. So I'm just gonna do fluid for the radiator, and I think I'm gonna try some of that waterless coolant. It's a little more expensive, but apparently you don't ever have to change it, and it just lasts forever. So and it's extremely non-corrosive, especially with aluminum heads in an iron block. Seems to have a lot of electrolysis, and it seems to eliminate that. So the plan is I'm just going to run a couple of pipes and some mufflers, just so I can make sure I can hear any sounds or any bad sounds, to catch anything before it gets too bad, before it eats itself. You know, I could run it with headers, but it's better be on the safe side for that. And then carb and fuel pump, and it's ready to go. It's set. The distributor had a vacuum advance. I pulled that off, and if you can see it in here, I put the blank plate. No, it's over this side. I put the blank plate in there and switched it to mechanical. I prefer mechanical, so I'll dial that in once it's all in the car. And yeah, so still not going to worry about the headers yet as far as coating. I still want to run them, get them through a couple of heat cycles, and then I'm going to try and coat them myself with a ceramic coat. And I still have to weld on the tube side of the bracket here, and then so that's part of the slip fit, so it's another one of these. I'll just take it on there, and then that holds the clamp down for the slip. And I've got those O2 sensors. I'm going to get an O2 sensor gauge, at some point, I'm not going to worry about it when I run on the stand, but once it's in the car, so I can dial it in when it's got weight against it, because it's kind of useless not having any load on it. Trans is full of oil and everything now. Hasn't leaked or anything, not that it should until it's actually under any kind of load. But that's pretty much it. Speaking of these gauges, the only other thing that I had come up that was an issue that I didn't foresee was I was going to run this water temp gauge. I was planning to run a mechanical like I did with the oil pressure and everything else to keep it simple. But this spacer that I've got for the thermostat trigger for the fans is this spacer has two bungs in it. So the mechanical water probe, which is over there somewhere, it's too long to fit in inside this fitting, and the only other fitting I've got left would be one of these crossovers. So I thought about blocking that off, but there's no point. So I am going to run electric gauge in the car anyway, so I just thought I'm just going to order the gauge I'm going to use ultimately in the car, and then fit that in, which will be the electronic gauge. And then that was that bung that I welded in this crossover a long time ago, so I can use the small temp sender in there. And then yeah, so that's that. And that's about it. The only biggest concern I have is that this sender for the fans actually is, I think it's triggered at 180, 195, I think it comes on. It turns off at like 175. I can't even remember. But the point is that it grounds through the thread, so you can't use thread sealant. So you just got to kind of hope that it doesn't leak. And on top of that, I'm a little concerned that this being this aluminum block with gaskets between it, if it'll truly ground. So when I run it, I'm just going to keep a heat gun on everything and just double check that the fans actually kick in at 195. Otherwise, I'll have to figure out another thing. I might have to take the crossover off and weld another bung in here or something for that specifically, which wouldn't be too bad because then I could get rid of this. But I'm kind of running out of real estate on this crossover anyway to weld stuff in. But that's pretty much it and where we're at. Otherwise, things are good. And yeah, like so it bumps over. There's no point keep cranking on it if I'm not going to do it. I will prime it again one more time before I start it. So yeah, carb, fuel pump, and we're ready to go. So let's see how it goes. And then something unfortunate that's happened that's come up recently, just because there's been a bit of moisture in here. It's actually started to flash rust through the primer in some spots here up in the cowl. I think this is just because I just dusted this thing with primer originally, even though I sandblasted all this in here. Anywhere that I really got a light coat of primer, I seem to have a couple of bits of spot rust on it, which is completely sucks. So I do have some vacation coming up at the end of June, so I think the plan is I'm just going to wheel the car out because I want to strip the other fender, the hood, and the core support and the inner fenders, so I can have all that done. I'll paint the inner fenders and the core support, so I'll be done with that. But I'll probably go over the whole thing with the DA. This stuff here, this is from back when I did the lead, so I haven't even bothered cleaning that off yet. So I'll sand all that, just scuff it all up and give it another hit of primer, so to seal it up, and then hopefully that'll stay long enough by the time I get to paint it. So yeah, that's the plan. All right, hope everything else is good. Sorry it's been lack of updates, but like I said, there's really not much progress. So all right, good stuff. Cheers.